Hello and welcome to Really Rubbish Racing's Race 2 here at Albert Park at Melbourne. It's a pleasure to have your company, and I'm joined once again by Campbell Wallace for the second race here.
Hello again.
How are you doing, Campbell? Are you well?
I am very well, yes, just watching the other cars going round as we wait for the start of the second race. Second 30-minute race of the weekend.
Indeed. So round 9 out of 14, event 5 out of 8, and again another 30-minute race duration with 16 laps and 16 turns, of course, on the circuit as well. That's comprised of a 3.3 mile length and 17 cars once again taking to the grid. So it shall be a fascinating race, and again picturesque blue skies wait the drivers for the 16-lap half-an-hour race. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be interesting as well. It was a cracking podium duel last time out. The championship standings going into the round. Sam Harani increases his lead on Ollie Knight in second place, 155 over 117. James Price Harper is in third position on the 78 on his car, and 81 points on the board in the championship. April Dillon now down into fourth, with Pete Walker in fifth position for the power team. And
yes, sorry, it was...
After you, go on.
No, on you go.
I should say, last time out, of course, we saw the podium snatched on the final lap by James Lambert. He was defending for all his might against Alex O'Dell, and it was amazing to see his defensive skills. And Alex O'Dell looked to get the move done up the inside in towards turn 9, but didn't manage to make the move stick after spinning up his rear tyres and getting a bit too deep in out of the corner, and spinning up his rear tyres and ending up in the barrier, unfortunately. But did manage to come home in fourth place. And also we saw Lee Harrison getting caught out by Tom Brooks, who spun at the final corner, or penultimate corner rather, and Harrison dropped down to sixth position from fifth. So Pete Walker then, of course, he finished in that position and took eighth place rather there, and takes pole position here. April Dillon lines up second with Lee Harrison in third. Alex O'Dell is fifth with James Lambert in sixth. James Price Harper there is seventh place on the grid, with his teammate Sam Harani in eighth position, the number one on his car, of course the reigning Really Rubbish Racing champion. Campbell Wallace for the Kibitsu team is ninth. Dan Thorne is 10th, rounding out that. Tom Kowalski is 11th for Team Atom, with Dave Morley in 12th position. Ben Haddleton, probably one of his highest starting grid slots of the season, in 13th. Tom Brooks starts 14th, an uphill struggle for him in race 1 it was. Covey in 15th, Matt Davies in 16th, and then Niall O'Connell for PSP Motorsports lines up 17th and last on the grid. So we wait then for the cars to start their grid formation.
Not the best starting place for the two PSP Motorsport cars you see in the back there.
So let's have a look then at the start. Pete Walker on the right hand side, and of course the Canadian Tyre car on the left. We wait then for the lights to go green, and they do now then. So it's a good start then from Dillon. Contact further back in the field. Let's have a look and see who got the whole shot. It was indeed April Dillon, the number 315, takes the lead into turn 1. Pete Walker and also Alex O'Dell into the barrier then as well, into the gravel trap. Goodness gracious me. Harani also off at turn 1, and I think Tom Kowalski going round there as well. O'Dell's race goes from bad to worse, and now Dillon is under pressure from Pete Walker, and Harrison not too far behind also.
Another chaotic start there, but less action the turn 3 than we saw in the last race, but we saw multiple cars making contact. Odell going off into the gravel among various others. Hopefully they'll all settle down quickly, and April Dillon going down the inside of Pete Walker. I think that's
look at this, all three bunched up for the lead of the race. My goodness gracious me, Harrison's got nowhere to go. He's got all the speed and the momentum, but nowhere to use it. And Pete Walker is up the inside of April Dillon. Is Dillon going to lose two positions into one corner? Yes, she is. Harrison then goes up into second place. Pete Walker takes the lead of the race on lap 1. My goodness gracious me, what a start here at Albert Park.
Yeah, good opportunistic driving from Harrison there. He saw that Dillon was being forced wide by Pete Walker. They were too busy focusing on each other, and Harrison just got the move done. We see the pack streaming through the shot, several cars out of position who wanted to make their way through the field. Lambert in the background holding up Price Harper. We saw how able he was to defend his position in the previous race. He will not be easy to pass. Price Harper's got his work cut out here. Harrison now attacking Walker. Walker doesn't seem to have the pace in the cars immediately around him. Harrison will be wanting to take the lead, see if he can build up a gap before guys like Price Harper and Harani manage to get through from further down the field.
So Lambert then is now pressurising April Dillon for third position. So Lambert took the podium last time out and he's looking to get back on it. Dillon squeezes him up against the pit wall as they come to start lap 2 then, but he's got the track position. Is he able to outbrake him into turn 1? Yes, he is. And if he's not careful, yes, Dillon will lose another position if Bryce Harper's got anything to do with it, because he's up the inside now as well and looking to get ahead of James Lambert also. So look at this. James Lambert could well get onto the podium. Indeed he might, because look at this. Oh no, not quite close enough. So Lambert then maintains third position. Bryce Harper then in fourth and has got full intent to go towards the front of the field.
Yeah, Dillon just caught out there again, much like she was the previous lap. Keeping wide, focusing too much on the car immediately in front and being got by the car behind, in this case Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper will still behind Lambert. Lambert back on the podium positions, but you have to feel that Bryce Harper, it's only a matter of time until he gets through. He should have a fairly significant pace advantage. He was wanting to catch Harrison. Oh, dives down the inside. That's an ambitious move. They both go off.
Dear oh dear, and Dillon's going to be there to pick up the pieces. Doesn't have the room to use it though.
Really.
Yeah, didn't have the room to use it because Bryce Harper came back onto a point of the track following his corner cutting somewhat there. I think he was mowing the grass, is what Bryce Harper was doing. But needless to say, he did manage to make the position on James Lambert. So Lambert maintains third, Bryce Harper still in fourth, and on board with Appleton at the moment in fifth place then. Lap 2 out of 16, and of course the drivers at the front of the field are absolutely romping away with this compared to those further back. Also Tom Brooks there, I believe he's in 6th place at the moment as well. He started
terrific start for him.
14th on the grid he was indeed.
He was, yeah, yes. Just kept his nose out of trouble, much like the leaders have immediately in front of him. He might well catch this battle ahead too. I feel like James Lambert's really holding up the two cars immediately behind him. Brooks, even if he doesn't have the ultimate pace, may be able to catch up. As might, I think it's Dan Thorne behind, and Hirani, who everyone will be keeping an eye on. Hirani, who had such an incredible pace in the first race, won by 25 seconds from Bryce Harper in second. He should make very rapid progress through the field. Up ahead, Walker still leads, holding off Harrison for now as Bryce Harper goes to the outside. It is possible there
if he's got the track position, but I don't think he has. Into turn 3, and Lambert parks his car perfectly on the apex of turn 4, then doesn't allow him to move it. He got a bit squirrely out of there, and that allows Bryce Harper then up into third place. He's a bit wide out of there. Lambert retaliates and gets the drive back, and he's back up into third place. Don't forget about Dillon very close behind now as well, looking to make advantage of these two. They're bumper to bumper through the chicane they go now as well. Bryce Harper's got some good momentum, but nowhere to use it unfortunately, as Lambert parks his car once again absolutely perfectly, and Dillon also threatening now as well.
Yeah, Lambert and Bryce Harper making consecutive mistakes. Lambert just very good opportunistic driving, saw Bryce Harper make a tiny mistake through turn 5. It was just enough to give him the inside, and here we see Hirani on board. Does he get punished? Because he was quite near the front. Oh no, he hits Walker off. Odell off. That's what happened to him.
Let's have a look there. So just misjudged his braking by the looks of things for Odell. A shame for him. Unfortunately, there we are. Just too deep on the brakes. Sends Odell into the wall. And that has pretty much scuppered both their races. Needless to say, Hirani, though, certainly on the recovery drive. He was really far down the order after the first corner, but he's up into 6th place now, just ahead of Dan Thorne. Tom Brooks also dropped back as well. He was in 5th position, the last thing I believe we heard. So he must have had a bit of an off-track excursion, unfortunately for him. But needless to say, the battle for third position rages on between James Lambert, James Bryce Harper as well. The two Jameses going head to head, and then it's April Dillon, the female driver, who is currently in 5th.
April Dillon just keeping tabs in this battle ahead. Lambert once again in the defensive, as he seems to have been pretty much the entire race, and that'll allow, of course, Hirani will catch them sooner or later in his car. Bryce Harper going for the outside, that'll give him the inside in the run to turn 3 if he can get the braking done right.
Yeah, he's got his prime speed through there, so surely the place is going to be Bryce Harper's unless he outbrakes himself, which is so good on the brakes, I don't think he'll do, and indeed he does not. So then Bryce Harper eventually gets up into 3rd place. James Lambert demoted down to 4th, with Dillon close for company in 5th place. Lap 4 out of 16 we're on, and of course it's Pete Walker who's comfortably leading the race ahead of Lee Harrison in the Defenders Holden.
Yeah, it's sort of just settling down a little bit now. Bryce Harper, I think, if he doesn't make any mistakes, will just start to pull away from Lambert now, and Dillon will be very keen to get past Lambert as quickly as possible. But Lambert fights back, not a little bit far behind to make the move work there. He's got to be careful he doesn't hold himself up. He'll want to hold what he currently has. He doesn't want to slip any further down the order. Dillon will be very keen to get past. This is Hirani on Morley.
And also Tom Kowalski as well. So is he going to be able to get 2 positions? Is he coming up to lap them indeed? Maybe he is.
No,
it is for position.
Yeah, it is for position.
So there we go.
Just get such very good drive around compared to the cars around him. And Walker's gone wide at turn 13. That allows Harrison through into the lead.
It takes the lead of the race on lap 4. The Defenders Spider-Man livery car, Spider-Man livery car, part of the N teams nonetheless, takes the lead of the race. And he hits the front then with Pete Walker still close for company. He'll be ruining that mistake. Hopefully we'll see a replay at some point as James Lambert now spins out of the final penultimate corner and he goes from 3rd down to 5th. Sam Hirani just negotiates his way through very well indeed, and I believe that's also Campbell Wallace who spun round as well coming out of turn 14. A shame for him because he was going so well and he's now down into 11th place and has got Ben Haddleton for company also. Let's have a look then at the replay.
Just lights up on the curb, and it's all it takes to send these cars round. They're very powerful, and if you don't have the maximum amount of grip, which you don't in the curb.
And that was Walker going deep, and this is how Harrison took the lead of the race then. Oh dear, just Walker too deep on the brakes into turn 13. And then, of course, let's have a look then. Who's this in the pit lane? Niall O'Connell. Is he coming in to retire? Because we shouldn't be expecting any pit stops. He's not serving any penalties. As Sam Hirani sets the fastest lap, a 153.629 rather, I should say. And Odell just coming out of the pit lane as well. And that's one of the Kaibitsu drivers battling with Tom Kowalski as well. And that's Niall O'Connell.
It's Crawford. Going very slowly. I think he was just letting these cars through. I imagine he's had damage somewhere around. He's been in to get that fixed. O'Connell not having a successful weekend. He retired from race 1 and just not on the pace as much as he would have liked. He's been fast in previous Really Rubbish racing seasons, but just doesn't have the pace in these cars at all. And the PSP team have struggled quite badly this season, as we see Crawford against Kowalski. Crawford seeming to have an edge in terms of pace, with Kowalski defending well. This is over the minor points places. They've got Odell ahead, but I think Odell will be starting to scamper away. As up front, Harrison's got a few car lengths on Walker behind.
Yep, certainly has. Lee Harrison there bridging the gap to, or increasing the gap rather I should say, to get ahead of Pete Walker and to finally make some inroads and to dominate this race is, I believe, Lee Harrison's mission. Bryce Harper there in a distant 3rd place at the moment, although he has made significant gains on these two as they're still sort of squabbling on circuit. No overtakes at the moment, but I believe that Walker's pace is somewhat superior to Harrison's at the moment, so it's probably only a matter of time before Harrison will lose the lead of the race, if indeed he does so, because you never know. It could just be another simple mistake from Walker and then he could be off the road once again.
I think Harrison's got enough pace at the moment. Walker's not really making any serious inroads, and I think Harrison's bigger concern long term will be the guys like Bryce Harper and Hirani coming through from the back, who definitely can challenge him for the win.
So there's Ben Haddleton also
even
recovering.
Though they're not near the front.
Sorry, Ben Haddleton covering from a spin there. He was in 12th place. Odell then up into 12th, and Ben Haddleton down into 13th, unfortunately for him. So just lost it going through there, a shame there. But Sam Hirani in 5th place at the moment. April Dillon just in front of him, going through the sort of straight that's not a straight really. It's flat out nonetheless. The downforce these cars are generating. April Dillon comfortably in 4th at the moment, going a bit deep through there, but not losing a significant amount of time. But Hirani's pace, especially over one lap, as we saw with the race 1 pole position from qualifying, he is absolutely on it at the moment and is really on the recovery drive, as we mentioned, following his turn 1 incident. So through turns 11 and 12 they go. And Dillon gets a poor exit out of there. Hirani just got an astonishing one. So there we are, side by side then, coming down towards Ascari once again. And it's going to be easy prey then, surely, for Hirani to take the position. And indeed he does, up into 4th place now then for the reigning Really Rubbish Racing champion.
Yeah, Hirani just had much better line for that corner. Dillon, I think, just ran wide in the first part. Of course, that puts your line off for the second part of the chicane. You could easily lose half a second in that corner alone if you get it wrong, as indeed we saw, and it gave Harrison enough of a run so the pass was done almost as soon as he exited the corner. And Dillon just getting a little bit ragged as she goes round. He needs to calm it down a little bit. She can still get a very good result from here.
There we are, there's Neil Crawford, not battling for points against Ben Haddleton at the moment of the Fire Cruiser Racing team then. So coming again into Ascari, this is a bit of an opportune overtaking spot. Everyone seeming to take advantage of it, and he manages to get the move done, or does he? Ben Haddleton looking up the inside, but no, it's Neil Crawford's for the taking. The Kaibitsu driver up into 13th place as his teammate just goes through the shot on towards the straight. Then on board with him now in 11th position, so a couple of points currently on the board for Campbell Wallace, and he's bearing down, I believe, on Matt Davies of the PSP Motorsports.
Yeah, Davies running quite well the points in the top 10. He's had a couple of runs.
Clips the wall on the outside there.
Managed to get points. He's looking a bit rising. Obviously, he's under pressure and will be keen not to give Wallace much of a chance into any of these big braking zones around the track.
Nope, certainly not. But we haven't really seen.
Wallace looks faster. He looks quite racy behind Davies ahead.
Oh, he's very sideways.
Well,
look at that. He's really pushing to the limits of his car, and indeed the tyres as well. So he's certainly on it, and certainly got a mission, has Campbell Wallace. But Matt Davies, we haven't really seen his defensive skills or indeed his sort of pace at the moment, because he hasn't really competed in that many rounds in the V8 Australicars series. So we're yet to see what he can do. Currently sitting in 10th place, although it doesn't look to be for much longer, as Campbell Wallace looks to look up the inside in towards turn 9. That's a very Dan-Dare move, and a bit of a touch between the two. Wallace does manage to carry on, but Matt Davies goes a bit deep into there. So there we go. Wallace does indeed get ahead, and also who's that joining them for company? It's Alex O'Dell now then, so battling for the top 10
side
position.
by side into the fast chicane. This is going to be a brave move. He goes for that. Wallace around the outside, stays in the track, makes the move stick, but Davies fights back, and O'Dell might get through as well. 3 wide as they go down towards turn 13.
It's a fantastic bit of action then for the final top 10 paying position, and it's Davies who looks to be losing out most of all. O'Dell trying to get around the outside of Wallace. Is he going to be able to get past him? Yes, he is. Great overtake then from O'Dell, up into 10th place. Inspired driving them from the power number 23.
Yeah, O'Dell, to take advantage of the battling cars ahead of him, found the space round them, and they were holding each other up so much he's able to jump the both of them into 10th place. Very good opportunistic driving there.
Yep, certainly looks to be that way. Pete Walker in second place. James Price Harper, who's made the gap even smaller for second position. Lee Harrison still out in front. Not managed to create that much of a gap as you would expect on Pete Walker, but such is his pace at this moment in the race. So halfway through we are, and Harrison, who's leading ahead of Pete Walker. Price Harper there just going through the shot now in the distinctly liveried Offenders car. So then through turns 11 and 12 they go. Price Harper takes the curb and is doing very, very nicely indeed to sort of bridge the gap, as we mentioned, to Pete Walker. Coming down then now into Ascari for the 8th time. Turn 13, clears the apex very nicely. You can see how much more comfortable he is with this car compared to Pete Walker. Walker does seem to be struggling with front end grip at the moment. Perhaps he's just in the turbulent air of Lee Harrison at the moment, and that's causing him to be a bit out of shape. And sort of struggling with understeer, and of course increasing his tyre wear on the front tyres. So a shame there for Walker at the moment. Price Harper pushing with all his might, getting very squirrely out of the final corner as well. And Lee Harrison is coming under ever increasing pressure also from Pete Walker as well. So it's...
You see Hirani in the background as well. He'll want to in on this battle as soon as possible. Walker just coming under a bit more pressure from Price Harper. Price Harper will, of course, don't even see much of him, was comfortably ahead of the chasing pack, excluding his teammate, of course, in the first race. He'll fancy his chances at winning this race, as indeed will any of these top 3, and indeed, for that matter, Hirani in 4th place, who is not far behind in the grand scheme of things.
Nope, certainly not, but it's Harrison who's still out in front. The gap to Pete Walker has now increased again. It looks to be ever less, but look at this. Price Harper up the inside maybe of Pete Walker, in towards turn 6. Yes, he gets the job done. Will he get the exit? No, he won't. Pete Walker then has got superior preem traction out of there and stays in 2nd place, but the cracking overtake there from Price Harper. Ever the opportunist is the 24-year-old Briton, and he manages to maintain his position in 3rd at the moment. Pete Walker, though, seriously struggling with grip at the moment. Oh, but Price Harper also struggling. He spins then out of 3rd place. He's going to be able to manage to keep the position because Hirani wasn't that far behind, and indeed, Hirani now up into 3rd.
Yeah, podium for Hirani. He'll want that with Ollie Key not racing. Price Harper, I think, just trying a little bit too hard. He wanted to get alongside Walker going into the chicane. He just got a little too much on the power, and that was enough. Because you have to have a little bit of steering lock on there. Is enough just to spin the car around, and a costly error. He's struggled to win the race from here.
Yeah, it certainly would. It's damage limitation now then for Bryce Harper, with 7 laps remaining here at Melbourne, Albert Park. So it's lovely to have your company. By the way, if you want to tweet us during the race and let us know that you're watching, feel free to do so. Hashtag V8 Australicars or hashtag RlyR. Really are in abbreviation section, so you can let us know that you're watching the races and get in touch and let us know. It'd be lovely to hear from you. But anyway, looking at Bryce Harper, who is now in 4th position. April Dillon not too far behind as well, but I think that Bryce Harper's pace is supreme compared to Dillon's at the moment. There's Dan Thorne having a good run in 8th place at the moment then on lap 10. He struggled a bit in the latter stages of the race of race 1. There's Tom Brooks getting very sized. We saw him in Formula R last season, didn't we, of course, having a bit of a drift at Curitiba, and he's continuing that theme.
Thorne chasing Morley. We saw this in race 1. Morley having another good trouble-free race. Having a much better run of things in this race compared to earlier in the season. He seems to have found, since he much more comfortable with the car. Both these drivers, in fact, seem to be much more comfortable with the car, and they're being rewarded with points. Dan
Thorne, though, does look a bit sort of, I don't know, he looks a bit squirrely. His car doesn't seem to be braking as well. I don't know if it's just my eyes deceiving me, but he doesn't seem... he seems like he's braking earlier and suffering with a bit more understeer, of course, through the high-speed corners as well. Maybe that's, again, just because of the turbulent air of Morley's Holden. But he just doesn't look to be as comfortable as the likes of Dave Morley does at the moment. But anyway, yellow flag on screen now as well. That's because Tom Brooks has gone off into turn 6, but carries on very nicely as well. Doesn't manage to swap the end round. I think it was just a simple out-braking move there for Brooks.
Yeah, the key is if you end up with the gravel, you just try and keep the car going and try and keep going in a straight line, because if you spin the wheels up in the gravel, you will spin and you might well dig yourself in, which will just cost you even more time. Patience is key in all aspects of driving these cars, whether you're driving in a straight line or if you do end up straying off the track.
This is a cracking bumper shot then on board with Dan Thorne at the moment. Morley just ahead of him, Brooks just behind. 5 laps now remaining. It's Harrison who's comfortably out in front. Pete Walker in 2nd position and Harani in 3rd, with Bryce Harper taking up 4th. And then, of course, we've got April in 5th and James Lambert in 6th. Morley in 7th, and then, of course, Dan Thorne, who we're on board with at the moment, in 8th place. Tom Brooks then in 9th at the moment as well. Not a bad run from him.
Better run for him this season. He of course qualified 5th for the first race and struggled a bit with various issues in the first race, but showing greater pace in the second race and could well be on for a good result, especially after his struggles earlier in the season. Harani getting ever closer to the top 2. He will fancy his chances, although Harrison seems to have dropped Walker. He's quite a few car lengths ahead, just trying to build up that cushion as much as possible. 5 laps to go so he can take what I believe will be his first win of the season.
Yeah, looks to be that way. So Harrison then is bridging the gap, as we mentioned, but also someone who is making inroads into Pete Walker is Sam Harani, of course, the driver who won race 1 and has taken quite a few victories in the season so far. I think he's on about 3 or 4 now, or maybe even 5 in fact.
A little bit wide there.
And he's really pushing all his might.
Shouldn't cost him too much. Oh, Morley spun. It's a shame for him. He's having a very good run there, 8th, 9th. Should get it round again in time and not drop any more positions, but even with that mistake, another, especially in conjunction with last race, it's a very encouraging run from Dave Morley. He'll be hoping this is a sign of things to come as the season goes on, even if it is punctuated by the odd mistake.
Oh dear, no, it wasn't even on the power then, it was just too much curb on the inside. That unsettled the car that little bit more, and Morley spun his Holden round and is down from 7th to 9th position. So it's Dan Thorne then, and battling with Tom Brooks for 8th place at the moment. So the 2 drivers who have scored minimal points, or yet no points at the moment in the case of Tom Brooks, are finally battling, and battling high up in the order as well.
Yeah, but we're watching the top 4. Top 4, as you saw in the main straight, all in the same shot. It's very, very close indeed. And don't rule anyone out of this yet. It's possible 2 or 3 battling cars could delay each other for long enough to let any of the others catch them up. And Harani should have a pace advantage over Pete Walker in front. Walker It's a very solid, consistent race.
Indeed is the case. 4 laps now remain here at Melbourne, Albert Park. So through the right-hander they go then, coming towards turns 9 and 10. So this is a very interesting part of the lap. So into there they go. And nicely out of it as well is Sam Harani, then the sort of Kimi Raikkonen replica helmet, I believe it is. But here's Odell then, battle for 9th position with Dave Morley. Odell, who of course had that incident at turn 1 on lap 1. He's in 10th place and looking to get a few more points on his tally. The brakes glowing red once again. Through turns 4 they go now, and Odell is comfortable with his car. You can see how much more pace and grip he has got behind the wheel of his Ford compared to Morley's Holden. Then coming down towards turn 6, Morley goes defensive. Alex Odell doesn't have the room to use it, but I think he might get some better traction out of there. Oh, but still, Morley parks his car absolutely perfectly and is defending for all he is worth, just to get a couple more points on the board.
Yeah, Odell much quicker at this stage of the race, as you might expect against Morley, really. And Morley just trying to...
Oh no, but Odell in place! He spun there last time round, of course, in race 1 and lost a podium position due to that, and loses significant ground now as well, compared to Dave Morley. A shame for him. Sam Harani, though, still trying to bridge the gap compared to Pete Walker, the other power driver in this race, who's having a sterling job at the moment. He is doing very, very nicely indeed, but has no real sort of reason to push at the moment. Well, I suppose he does, really. He's got Harani behind him. But he's, speaking of someone who is pushing, is Harani, of course. He is really, really going for it, setting fastest lap after fastest lap and quicker sector after quicker sector. Even with the tyres that are wearing down quite significantly and the fuel load, of course, that's burning off, he's doing a great job behind the wheel of the Holden, is Harani.
Yeah, he's really catching Walker hand over fist now. Walker driving a very solid race, as he has done pretty much all season. He won a race at Hidden Valley. Probably not going to win this one, but he'll be very hopeful of getting another podium on the board and increasing his championship points tally. As we see Harani, though, he's very determined to catch him down, because of course he knows if he can get past Walker sooner rather than later, he might well have a shot at catching Harrison for the win. And he's got something of a run. It looks a little far back to try a full move, but Walker still feels the need to go defensive. Harani will switch to the outside as he does. Not really much grip around the inside. He wants to down the inside. Might have a go into turn 14, but there's not really enough of a braking zone there. But he's well alongside, and he goes for it.
Bit of contact between the two, and Pete Walker goes off the circuit momentarily, and that allows Sam Harani then to take 2nd place then in the race at the moment. Pete Walker struggling with traction at the moment and trying to get back the time that he lost, with 3 laps now remaining of the race here at Melbourne at Albert Park. So is Lee Harrison comfortably out in front for the defenders, looking to take a victory here at the moment, and we'll wait and see whether he can do so. The time will tell in just a couple of laps, but it's been a cracking race at the moment.
Yeah, Walker just closed the door a bit too late, and Harani got pushed off into the gravel. Might well have cost him more time. Price Harper is not far behind at all. Dan Thorne running wide, and
Tom Brooks going into the barrier in sympathy as well. Look at that.
Just takes advantage. Nearly had a much worse outcome there. Just seemed to go off in sympathy.
It's, like I say, a cracking performance from the young offenders driver. He's really been nowhere at the moment in the season, but he's having a supreme run. He's up into 7th position now then, so let's wait and see whether Brooks can hold on to it. He's under increasing pressure from Dan Thorne, of course. He went wide through turn 14, but Dan Thorne then has got some good straight line speed behind the wheel of that Holden. Brooks, of course, in the Ford. Through turns 1 and 2 they go. Brooks never does seem to have the outright speed, but always seems to do a little bit better in the races, such as consistency. Anyway, then coming in towards turn 3, on board with Dan Thorne at the moment.
They seem to be about even in pace. This should be a scrap to the finish.
Brooks going a bit wide through turn 4. That'll allow Dan Thorne to close up momentarily. And through turn 5, he'll clips a barrier on the outside. And that allows Dan Thorne to have a good run up the inside, maybe into turn 6. Will he get past? Yes, he will. Parks it firmly on the apex. Great racing between these two then. And Tom Brooks down back into 18th place with 2 laps now remaining of the race here at Albert Park. So looking for his first point of the season is Brooks. Dan Thorne, of course, already got a couple on the board, but would like to make a few more in his championship tally. Speaking of people who would like to do well in the championship, that man there, Sam Harani, who's in second place, he's dominating it so far. He could probably go at least 2 races without competing and still come out leading the championship.
Harani just inching towards Harrison, but Harrison, with a lap and 3/4 to go, it just seems to be doing enough. If he keeps going his current pace, looks like Harani probably won't catch him in time, but it's not safe to rule Harani out when it comes to chasing down a leader. He's very, very quick, and being able to see Harrison ahead, being able to see the race victory, or the potential race victory, will be enough to just get that second wind, whereas Harrison's got to mentally keep himself in a position to challenge, keep himself going at the kind of speed he needs to go at. Meanwhile, for the final podium, Bryce Harper all over the back of Walker.
There we are, so Bryce Harper's got great traction out of there. This is where he spun it, of course, a few laps ago. And look at this battle still ensuing onwards between Matt Davies then and Campbell Wallace. Tom Kowalski not too far behind also, and battling for 12th place in the final points position, just battling for a single point. And look at this, Wallace up the inside of Harrison. Oh dear, I'm getting my names confused. As Kowalski, a bit of contact there between them and going through Ascari, and that allows Wallace then to reign supreme and still holds on to the points paying position, and it's Matt Davies in 13th, Tom Kowalski in 14th at the moment. In towards Prost they go.
Yeah, Kowalski just spins out of only a lap or 2 to go. That'll put him right down the order. Wallace just putting one down the inside, making it stick. Davies didn't go defensive, and ultimately that proved to be the wrong choice, as up ahead, coming to complete the penultimate lap, Bryce Harper chasing down Walker. As we see, Odell has got back up to Morley for 8th place. Of course, Odell had that spin earlier on. Really is much faster, but Morley holding on for the time being.
I also just want to mention Tom Brooks also down into 10th place. He was battling for 7th with Dan Thorne just a lap or so ago, so he must have spun off the circuit, because it was spun off at the final or penultimate corner rather in race 1, and that hindered Harrison's progress somewhat. Maybe he's done a repeat incident, you never do know. It's so easy to lose it in these cars, especially in the lower speed corners as well. But the battle for the podium still ensues onwards between Pete Walker and James Bryce Harper then. Power versus offenders. A cracking battle ensuing onwards. We saw this last time out, of course, between Lee Harrison and who else was it? Was it Bryce Harper battling for the final podium position? Oh no, we'll come back to that in a minute. That's Lambert spinning up.
It was Lambert and Odell battling for the final position and podium in the last race. Walker, I think, is just starting to run out of time. He's only really got one major overtaking point left, and he didn't look terribly close when we cut away. Morley holding firm, doesn't have the pace on Odell, but only needs to hold on for one more lap. Whether he'll be able to or not is a different matter. Odell so much faster at this stage of the race.
Did you see how squirrely Odell was under braking into turn 1 as well? That was a
he's
miracle.
Right on the edge.
Miracle he didn't lock his front up, but Lee Harrison then, this man here, who is comfortably out in front and barring anything going wrong into the final couple of corners, looks to be out in front to take the win. So through turn 16 comes Lee Harrison of the defenders. The Holden driver will come across the line in just a couple of moments time. Sam Harani in tow, but it's Lee Harrison stay down under. He takes the victory. Race 2 here at Melbourne at Albert Park. Sam Harani clings onto his championship in second place, and then it's Pete Walker in third for Power, just ahead of Bryce Harper by less than a tenth of a second. There we are looking then further back, Dave Morley and Alex Odell. Odell around side into the chicane he goes and manages to take the position. Oh dear, up into 8th place for Odell then on the final lap.
Yeah, Odell just put it round the outside, one of the ultimate major overtaking spot. Just needs to keep it clean now, but Morley might well have a run. Always run wide in the first part, put him off in the second one. Odell should be safe now. Morley needs a good run out that chicane and down to turn 13. He hasn't got that. Odell should be safe in 8th place, but Lee Harrison kept it out of trouble for the entire race. Kept going quickly and kept it pointing in the right direction, fended off Harani's advances to take the win by less than 2 seconds in the end.
So there we go. Let's have a look then at the final results. 20 points on the board for Lee Harrison. Sam Hirani takes 15. Pete Walker is third, of course. James Price Harper in 4th position, then April Dillon in 5th. James Lambert rounds out in 6th position, and Dan Thorne up into 7th place. Tom Brooks incidentally also takes his first points with 11th position as well. Drivers to score didn't score: Matt Davies, Tom Kowalski and Ben Haddleton. For the championship then, Sam Hirani on 170 points rather. Ollie Knight on 117. I can't do quick math, so I can't work it out. James Price Harper then trailing in 3rd position on 91. April Dillon on 84 points in 4th place. Pete Walker is 5th. Lee Harrison for power in 6th. And then further down the order, a lot of topping and changing. Tom White down to 13th, Dan Thorne up to 15th, Craig Woolard down to 16th, Dave Morley up to 17th. You could count them on with as many fingers, couldn't you? Anyway, the team's championship then. The Offenders continue their dominance out in front, still over 100 points ahead of Power Racing. The Offenders then dominating Power in 2nd, Junior Motorsports 3rd on 135, demoted by Power. And then further down the order, Team Atom go down the order as well. 2 points on the board currently only for the team there in 15th position. But it's been a cracking race. Thank you ever so much for your company, Campbell. Lovely to commentate on it with you again. Let's have a look at some highlights of the start. It was action-packed as the lights went out. Hirani, of course, going into the back of Odell, scuppering both of their races, really. It was a recovery drive then on in. And then further back down the field, we saw a lot of action taking place.
Battles up and down the field throughout the race. Quite a close race for the win, even though there wasn't terribly much wheel-to-wheel action, though. We did see Harrison taking the lead in the early stages and holding onto it despite pressure from multiple people behind, and overtakes from various drivers. A few mistakes being decided, but some great racing.
And look at that. That was the battle for 2nd position between Pete Walker and Sam Hirani. Sam Hirani, of course, eventually reigning supreme. And this was a cracking thing to commentate on. Matt Davies, Campbell Wallace and Tom Kowalski all going head-to-head 3 wide into Ascari, and only one would eventually reign supreme. And speaking of reigning supreme, it was Lee Harrison's day here at Albert Park. He took the victory and a well-deserved 20 points on the board. So anyway, thank you ever so much for your company. It's been a pleasure to be talking to this race with you. Thank you again. We'll see you next time out for Barbrighello. Really looking forward to that event. It should be an interesting one to see. So we'll catch you next time around.